when you're talking about all of the chopped up light angles, right? We're talking about the Osiris, which is the operating system of the iris, which is the third eye. This is the operating system that allows you to perceive all light, and it allows you to perceive all light angles. So when you're speaking words, when you are hearing words, when you are seeing words, have you ever heard of the saying, see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil? What you're talking about is your perception through your primitive and as well as your third eye. It may seem very innocent looking at these numbers, but there's nothing innocent about them. And it's not to say that they are necessarily negative. It is how they are being used, okay? And when you are perceiving these particular letters and numbers, what you have to think about in terms of your base numbers, starting at the root, there is only 0 through 9. All larger numbers can be broken down, or you can add them together until you reach one of the base numbers, which are 0 through 9, okay? And in terms of gematria and these particular sigils or light angles, which we can get really deep and granular, I will go into this a little bit further later on in the series and show you how we can use polymathematics in order for us to understand all of these different angles on a much deeper level, as I have interpreted on this page. But when you talk about gematria, you're talking about assigning a numerical value to each of the alphabet. This is how the alphabet was constructed. There are 26 of these letters, and gematria is basically creating ciphers using numerical values. So if you take, for instance, the word all, A-L-L, right? That is 1, 12, 12. Now, if I take the number 12, I can break that down to the number 3. And if I have 2 L's, I have 2 3s. So all is 1 3 3, but it can also be 1 6, which is 16, and 1 plus 6 equals 7. So the word all in total equals the number 7. Okay, and if you are seeking to create an energy or to push certain ciphers, anagrams, logos, or seals onto the mind, because when you talk about the seals of Solomon, the greater and lesser keys of Solomon, I don't know if you've ever read that book, but when you're talking about controlling the mind using seals and sigils, basically the way that they went about doing that is you draw the seal, okay? You have to encompass it within a circle, which is kind of similar to how parasites and pathogens attach themselves within a circle. It is the same thing with jinn and spirits, which I have another video that I broke this down on the actual connection between parasites, pathogens, small microscopic bugs, and their relationship with jinn, which is basically any of the parasites, bugs, and microscopic insects are an emanation of the physical body of most of the jinn spirits, okay? They attach themselves within the body, within cells, and this is how they wreak havoc, similar to how a jinn attaches itself to the mind of its host and takes over and, does malevolent things or not. It may give them powers, it may give them information. However, this is how you construct a seal, okay? So when you're seeing all of these different numbers, letters, and your reality is steeply coded in this way, meaning popular news media, you're watching movies and there's random numbers placed throughout, and you're wondering why are these numbers being shown consistently over and over again, or why when you're watching news media you have all of these numbers that are placed consistently over and over. These numbers are telling a story, and they're communicating a larger message within the higher spaces, okay? And it's basically language that talks or speaks over your head, because those who are in control understand how this works at its core, okay? And this is how you control minds. You're basically using all of these various angles of light, and you're constructing a language, and you're constructing all of these degrees of light in order for you to control the minds, okay? And again, when you are using things like the seals, you basically take over the brain with this particular jinn by using the seal with all of its various angles, and they typically, draw a circle, and it involves some religious rites, which I could get into, but I would just put that up on the screen. where basically you are putting perfumes and different oils on the third eye, okay, in order for you to call forth that light angle, okay, whatever light angle that is, okay. So in the case of something like Baal or Beelzebub, you're talking about a bedbug, batbug energy, or some kind of vampiric type energy that's blood sucking, and basically the representation of that light angle would be Beelzebub or Baal. And in order for you to call forth Baal, you would need to place this perfume on the third eye, or this oil that would entice this particular seal, okay, and it would call forth that spirit or the light angle for that spirit based on whatever the angles and the numerical value that is created within the seal. This is all mathematics, okay. This is all degrees of light and angles of light, okay. So next we will get into gematria a little bit more granular and how you can break all of this down. But I did this in order to explain the basis of why you would need to have this particular setup and how this can be used to control minds. These numbers can be used to control frequencies, light. It can be used to make you do a certain thing or place a certain energetic frequency in its composition, okay, meaning that certain words, when they're put together, names of people, logos, anagrams, which is basically saying that you have one word that you put together and it actually means something else when spoken, but it doesn't matter if I'm witnessing or hearing the actual word or the letter or the name of this anagram. Whatever my intentions are when I set out to say that particular thing, it's going to still conjure the same thing. So you have words that are set up like anagrams, and you're thinking, okay, well, I'm saying one thing, but it's actually meaning something entirely different. Or it could have multiple meanings depending on how you can scramble those words and pull out various anagrams. It's the exact same thing. It doesn't matter how you compose the letters, it is going to have the same effect at the end, because it all boils down to these angles or degrees of light, which can be measured numerically, which brings you back to the number angles, which brings you back to the seals, and how all numbers and letters are basically representations of angles or degrees of light that can be drawn, which affect all of existence, because all of existence is frequency of light. So join me on the next part of this, where I will get a little bit more detailed in terms of how to decode reality. And I hope you enjoyed this message. Peace, love, and light.